say to me, "Oh, Mark, you have such a difficult job being a minister." And I have to admit to you that I'm glad to soak up all the sympathy that I can give. However, upon reflection, I have to say to those people, it's not a difficult job. It is the most wonderful thing that any person could do with their life, because what it means is that you are with people all the time, that you are sharing with people their great struggles and their victories in life. You're seeing people always at their very best, filled with compassion and tenderness and goodness, striving to do what is best for the world around them. It is a wonderful way to live. And then people follow up by saying, "But Mark, what about funerals? Don't you get depressed? Don't you get down when people are struggling with grief?" And again, upon reflection, I have to say to people, and I say this to all of you now, that sometimes in the midst of grief, human beings are at their very, very best. All the pretension and all the nonsense is gone away, and all that is left in the midst of that grief is the understanding we all share that life really is beautiful. And we grieve because we're sad that someone's life has been cut off, and we grieve because in that moment we recognize that to be alive is truly a blessing. And the people who surround the grieving person or the grieving family are also demonstrating something that is absolutely glorious, a kind of compassion and tenderness and warmth that is absolutely the image of God's love in this world. So even in the midst of grieving, if you look carefully, what you see is humankind at its very, very best. Jesus used the understanding of what grieving was in the story that we read this morning from the Gospel of Luke. The people of Jesus' day had a great problem, and the problem was that they were surrounded by people who were not Israelites. And they said to Jesus, "How are we supposed to treat those people who are different from us?" Jesus had to find a way to show those people how they and how we today, 2,000 years later, should still be treating people who are different. He went to the town of Nain. And you need to understand a little bit about the history of Nain to understand how meaningful it was what Jesus did in that place. Nain was one of the towns in the region originally given to that son of Israel called Issachar. And though it was properly a part of the nation of Israel, even long before Jesus got there, the people of the region of Issachar had intermarried with the Canaanites such that they no longer were considered really to be a part of Israel. They became the land of Samaria. And of course, we all know the stories about the Samaritans, in which Jesus points out to the people, sometimes the people who are different from you, if they have tenderness and love and compassion, they are with you. They worship the same God whom you worship. We know that from the story of the Good Samaritan who showed up the religious people, or the woman at the well in Samaria who came to recognize who Jesus was. So the people in Israel proper had a great deal of prejudice towards the people of Samaria, of Nain, of the region of Issachar. And in this story, Jesus goes to Nain, and there what he finds is that people are just the same as they are in any other place in Israel or Judea. He finds a grieving mother. And all of a sudden, as this story is unfolding, all of us recognize that those people whom we think are so different from us or so foreign from us are in fact united to us at the most basic and the most powerful level. They too are human beings with tender hearts which may be broken. And when Jesus goes into that town as the funeral procession is coming out, what Jesus recognizes is not that those people are different or that they have turned away from what is true and right. He recognizes that they are broken. So he stops up the funeral procession and he puts his hand on the casket and says, "Young man, get up." The text then says these beautiful words, "He gave the young man back to his mother." It's not that it's a resurrection. We do not look for resurrection of that sort in our lives. It is the fact that Jesus is saying to his people, what you do with those who are different from you, recognize their humanity. Recognize their brokenness and their fear and their weakness. And feel compassion from the depth of your heart for them. Jesus has a good precedent for this story in that the exact same thing that happened in almost the exact same place 800 years earlier when Elisha had raised up the son of a widow. And so Jesus is saying this isn't any new or fresh knowledge. This is something you have known for 800 years. And by referencing the story of the widow in Nain, whose son Elisha raised up, Jesus is saying to them, look at the whole story of Elisha and Elijah. Because there were people who came into contact with foreign nations as well. And of course, Elisha and Elijah firstly met those other people with violence and with force.